What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 3 mid laners of patch 7.35D. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. First of all, I want to get rid of an honorable mention, and that's going to be Earthshaker. Now you guys might be thinking, well, Earthshaker isn't one of the most meta picks. He's not, but I think he's one of the most underrated mid laners. If you guys do play mid lane Earthshaker, let me know in the comment section below. He does have a 50% win rate, which is pretty solid, and he's able to catch a lot of heroes off guard. He does quite well, especially in the mid lane when he's allowed to get that XP and that farm. So if you're able to play against a melee matchup that you're not going to struggle so much, so let's say a Kunkka or an Ember Spear and heroes of this nature, any melee hero pretty much Shaker is going to do very well against. Now if you're going to be facing up against heroes like Sniper, Viper, Huskar and heroes like that, you're going to have a really tough time. So make sure if you are going to play Earthshaker mid, you do know who the mid matchup is going to be. That way you're going to be a lot more successful and you don't get kicked out of lane, because that can be quite an issue. Again, this hero is really good also because he can rotate quite easily. He's a very good team fighter, and Echo Slam is always going to be a fantastic ability. Getting big Echo Slams is always going to be really fun. One of the funnest heroes to play in Dota in my opinion, and extremely active, and doesn't really play very greedy. It doesn't really farm jungle, it just farms heroes, and that's a really good way to play from the mid lane. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about Earthshaker mid? Now we're going to be taking a look at Arc Warden, one of the best mid laners right now with a 52.56% win rate. All these stats are according to Dota Buff. This hero is extremely strong and he is no joke. He is mostly being played either as a carry or as a mid. Now he's a very greedy mid laner, so if you guys already have a hero like Spectre, Phantom Lancer, one of these heroes that just needs a lot of time to come online, it's not really great to be playing an Arc Warden, because if the other team has a draft that can easily 5-man early, you're gonna get steamrolled. But Arc Warden is insanely good at fighting even early on. Your Tempest double is gonna be really good, and you have a ton of damage from Spark Rates and Flux. You typically don't take a point in Magnetic Field. That's mostly a waste of time. I don't really like the spell. I think you'd rather just max Flux and Spark Rates. You're going to do a lot better off, because the whole purpose of you playing this hero is to get a lot of damage out there, and eventually in the mid to late game you're going to be a secondary carry, and you might even take more priority than your actual carry. Don't be afraid to farm on this hero. This hero needs time to come online, but also don't be afraid to rotate. A lot of Arc Warden players make the mistake of just thinking they just have to AFK farm, but if there is really tough matchups on the side lanes, then sure, you can just start pushing the mid lane and take jungle camps and get your farm up. But if there is kill potential for you to be on the side lanes, go ahead and make a play. Don't just AFK and sit in the lane. Make some space for your carry as well, because you are playing a mid Arc Warden, so you do need to create some space for your carry, and don't play insanely greedy. Even though the hero is greedy, don't play it insanely greedy. One of the best things you have about this hero is that you can pretty much build it however you want. You can build a Hex, you can build an Orchid, you can get Gleipnir, you can get a ton of control items on this hero, and it's going to feel really amazing because you have your Tempest double, which is going to be casting the same thing. So double Orchid, double Gleipnir, double everything, and it can really benefit your team from having all these control items, because it's going to make your team fights a lot easier. The next hero we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Meepo. Now Meepo has always been one of the best mid laners in Dota, but the key is you need to know how to play him. So just like Arc Warden that is really heavy on microing his abilities and his Tempest double, you have to micro a lot of Meepos. So definitely if you're not a Meepo player, it's probably not going to be very beneficial for you to be picking Meepo, but I highly recommend you guys to at least know the counters to Meepo and know how to play Meepo, at least on a basic level, because then you're going to understand what the hero is all about. He is one of the fastest farmers in Dota, if not the fastest, because you have those multiple clones and you're able to farm, and since Poof is magical, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to creep camps, and you're going to be farming a lot more optimally. And once you hit that Diffusal Aghanim Scepter timing, you're going to be able to run the enemy team down. When you're playing against pretty much no Meepo counters or very few Meepo counters and you're a good Meepo player, it's still going to be a pretty free game, and the enemy definitely has to watch out, because you can easily snowball out of control and win the game between 20 to 25 minutes, even 35 minutes. You could definitely win games super fast on this hero, hence why this hero has always been the Smurf hero, because in lower MMR, Smurfs would just win games instantly just by playing Meepo, because they would easily outfarm the enemy and just push them until they would lose. But with the changes to Meepo in getting his Aghanim Scepter, it's just made him a lot better in the late game. Meepo is definitely not insane in the late game, but he's just so tanky. Once you have Scotty, you have Aghanim Scepter, and you have a Disperser, which was nerfed, but I think you can still buy it on the Meepo. It's still pretty decent. It's just not as good as it was before. And then you have your Dig. Honestly, all these things make Meepo insanely hard to kill. In the late game, Meepo pretty much becomes a tank. He doesn't do a whole lot of damage when it comes to the late game, but his survivability definitely goes up, and if your carry provides the damage, Meepo is pretty much going to be that secondary offlane tank, and you can kind of look at him in that way, which is kind of weird to think that Meepo won't do a ton ton of damage in the late game. And it is true, because once you're going for Aghanim Scepter, items like Scotty, Diffusal, you're not doing a whole lot of right click damage unless you're going for items like Butterfly and such, or maybe a Basher, or maybe a Monkey King Bar. There's a lot of items you can go for on this hero, but your typical build is more or less to be more survivable and more tanky. But he's overall one of the best mid laners. I highly recommend you guys to pick him up and learn him in your pubs. He's definitely a very tough hero to play, but can be very rewarding if you learn how to play him properly. Definitely a very fun hero to play. The next hero we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Zeus. I think Zeus is the strongest mid laner right now in this current meta, especially with the right click Zeus, the lightning hands. It is the best build currently to be playing on Zeus. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this build? It's definitely my favorite. It's my go-to Zeus build, and it's pretty much the most popular even in competitive. Zeus has pretty much picked their band in most competitive games right now just because he's so strong. You're always going to have that vision control because of Zeus. You're going to have the global threat from Thunder God's Wrath. All you need to do is have some pretty decent positioning, and once you have items like Phylactery, your lightning hands, and a Manta, you can actually man up to a lot of carries, especially if they're illusion carries. You're going to be able to man up against these heroes and do a ton of work. And eventually, if you get an Assault Cuirass, which is one of my favorite builds to go on the Zeus, you are extremely tanky, and you can actually start frontlining on this hero with a Hurricane Pike. You can start frontlining on Zeus, which is crazy to say. On a hero like Zeus, you start frontlining and actually right-clicking people. It sounds insane, but it's definitely very viable, and he's just super strong, does a ton of damage, and he's also insane in the late game. With this right-click Zeus build, you're able to go into the late game quite happily. Back when Zeus was mostly being played with Aghanim Scepter, Refresher, Octarine, maybe an E-Blade, he was still strong in the late game, but not as strong as this because your items are actually scaling a lot better. Typically, magic damage doesn't scale as great into the late game. As people start to get BKBs and start to get pipes and Eternal Shroud, then you start to struggle with that magic damage. But with the Lightning Hands build, even though it is magic damage on the shard itself, when you're building items like Assault Cuirass, or maybe you get a Daedalus, or you get a Monkey King Bar and items like this, you really don't care a whole lot, and BKBs are not forever. So once those BKBs are down, you're going to be doing really good hybrid damage, which is my favorite way to build Zeus right now. It is the best way because that hybrid is going to give you that extra damage you're going to need. When people have BKBs, you're still going to be able to hit quite hard with an item like Monkey King Bar or Daedalus. Once you have like Moon Shard, you do need some attack speed on the hero, so those items are going to come way later, but you're still going to be able to skill super hard. Let me know in the comment section below, who do you think is the best mid laner of this patch? I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.